Hey, what's up, Stoner fam? Welcome to another episode of the Cannabis Man podcast. Thank you for clicking on the show. I am your host, Don Kleppen, and I'm just about back to full health. I mentioned on the show last week that I had come down with sickness, and that sickness turned out to be COVID-19. It was my first bout with the virus. Gretchen, my fiance, has had it a couple of times now, so she was well experienced with it, but it was my first time with it, and I gotta say, losing the taste and smell was something that really messed with me, and it led to kind of an unfortunate happenstance, which I'll explain a little bit later in the show. I have the news joint wrap, though, ready to go. Some Illinois news stories regarding cannabis and some events coming up, talking about that on the wrap. The strain of the week is a little bit altered this week, and it has to do with those circumstances that I'll tell you about later. And a great interview for you. I'm speaking with Viktor Karpenko. He's the CEO and founder of MJ SEO, an agency that really has some great work going on. They're helping small businesses and larger ones too with their search results on the internet, and they're specifically and only focused on the cannabis industry. So they're helping people kind of stand out when you search things on Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo, whatever your search engine of choice is. We are a browser-based society now, and being able to have your business stand out from the competitors, from the crowd, when people are looking for services that you offer on whatever search engine they are, it's really important and advantageous to be able to stand out, and Viktor and his team at MJ SEO are helping everybody do that. So that conversation full of insight and information is on the back half of this episode as well. So let's get right into it on this 38th episode of the Cannabis Man podcast. The theme right there, courtesy of my man Yusu Kim, aka Goodson. You can check out his music and some of the new singles that he's been releasing on his Instagram page at I Am a Good Son. And let's jump right into the News Joint Wrap. That's right, brought to you by IllinoisNewsJoint.com. You can think of it as the joint you can hit for all your Illinois cannabis news and reviews. And let's start with IDOA has issued the next round of transporter licenses for Illinois. That would be the state's Department of Agriculture, and they made this issuance today from when I'm recording this, January 19th. That'd be Thursday. And IDOA announced that they had issued 33 transporter licenses today, and that closes the 2022 application pool. That's in addition to the 88 craft grow licenses and 54 infuser licenses already issued to date, bringing the total licensed transporters in the state to 222. Nice and alliterative there. 85% of all new licenses under the CRTA are equity by ownership, according to Jason Brown at Illinois News Joint. Transporter licensees take cannabis and cannabis-infused products on behalf of other Illinois cannabis business establishments, but not directly to consumers. For instance, a craft grower would utilize a transport licensee to deliver products to a dispensary from where the product is grown and tested and made. The current list of licensees is available on IDOA's website. There's a link at IllinoisNewsJoint.com as well, and you can read some quotes there in the article from Governor J.B. Pritzker, as well as a department spokesperson. Moving on, Illinois' Department of Financial and Professional Regulation, IDFPR, has extended the social equity license application deadline, and they've now provided a flexible timeline, as well as other supplemental information for the next round of cannabis dispensary licenses in Illinois, starting at the end of this month, January. Earlier this week, IDFPR announced two key updates for the upcoming social equity criteria lottery for the next round of adult use cannabis dispensary licenses. First of which is the application deadline has been extended through Friday, March 3rd of 2023. This replaces the original Valentine's Day deadline, February 14th, and will give prospective applicants a total of 5 weeks to submit their application. That's a big bump up from the last couple of years. The window for applications will still be open on January 30th through the IDFPR online portal. That is when you can start submitting your applications, and the deadline now again extended through March 3rd. IDFPR has also created an interactive map available on its website for all prospective applicants. The interactive map allows people to check if an individual address is within a census tract which qualifies for one of those social equity criteria. The department encourages all individuals to utilize this helpful map as they prepare their applications. So, if that's you, if you're thinking about filling out one of these applications for the social equity lottery licenses here, use the new map tool at IDFPR's website. The interactive map tool lets you know ahead of time if where you're planning to set up operations is in one of those districts that they need to be. You can also find other additional resources for the social equity criteria lottery, including a step-by-step breakdown of it and the licensing process, a mock application, and a guide for acceptable documents to fulfill the social equity criteria. You can find all of that on the adult use cannabis webpage of IDFPR's website. And an event coming up, the Bud Tender Choice Awards, is to be hosted by High Minded Events. Jason Brown of Illinois News Joint says High Minded Events have already scheduled 3 for the year, including the Bud Tender Choice Awards, which is set for next month. Owner and founder of High Minded Events, Phil Cooper, provides a series of sponsored and hosted events for cannabis professionals throughout the year. Cooper's inviting all Illinois dispensary bud tenders, employees, managers, owners, and license holders for cannabis to attend the Bud Tender Choice Awards February 23rd. The event is free, but it's not open to the public. You have to receive an invite to the Bud Tender Choice Awards, and you can do so logging into the Seed Talent platform to complete a Bud Tender's Choice Awards survey. Once that's completed, guests will be notified via email when event registration opens. Other high-minded events that Jason Brown notes scheduled for the cannabis industry this year include the annual Higher Love event June 1st and the Great Harvest event October 1st. And of course, you can find more information about all of those stories I mentioned, links to the web pages you'll need to get to if you want to buy tickets, register, or find out more. And you can do all of that at IllinoisNewsJoint.com. Okay, and now to share with you the little happenstance that kind of affected my strain of the week plans for this episode, as well as for my cannabis supply here. So as I mentioned at the top, my fiance Gretchen and I came down with COVID last week. My symptoms started Tuesday, and I just kind of thought it was regular sickness, but by the weekend we had both lost much of our taste and smell. And so then we tested and it came up positive, so we knew what it was. But a couple of days before we tested, I was, just kind of thought I had the flu or some other sickness, and I was utilizing cannabis to escape some of the unpleasantness of the symptoms. Just doesn't really alleviate any of the symptoms, but it makes you feel better about, everything. So I was utilizing it as I do when I'm sick and everything, and I found that I was not liking the taste or smell of this cannabis at all that I was trying to consume. Now, again, I didn't realize that my taste and smell had been totally messed up by COVID at this time, so I started looking at the packaging of this product, and the product, by the way, is Purple Trainwreck, and I got it from the Sunnyside in Wrigleyville. Mini Buds is the company. It's a venture between Illinois Grown Medicine and Forefront. And so I'm looking at this label of Purple Trainwreck of the Mini Buds here, and I noticed that, it was tested by ACT Labs. Harvest date is July 12th of 2022. Testing date August 3rd, and the package date is September 23rd. And I picked these up end of December, these Mini Buds, and I was kind of just, I'd been sitting on them. I had some other cannabis I was getting through, and so then once I started these, and again, I was intending to make these the strain of the week, I noticed that I did not at all care for the smell or taste. And when I looked at that harvest date, I kind of made the assumption that it was old, dried out, and problematic. and that the product was bad. And so what I did after reading that label was I dumped the contents of my grinder into the ashtray that I have nearby. I sort of made the assumption that it was bad, and that's why it was smelling and tasting so bad to me. I thought the product was garbage, and so like I said, I just tossed it effectively from the grinder into the ashtray. And 2 days later, I tested positive for COVID. The rest of my taste and smell was gone. And after I've gotten clear of COVID and I've been able to try the little bit of the other cannabis that I had left, I realized that what had happened was that my taste and smell just got completely crossed up. And for a few agonizing days, my preference, my taste and smell, the enjoyment that I have of those for cannabis was not only gone, but totally reversed. I found that I did not at all like the smell or taste of burning cannabis, and so I didn't smoke or consume any of it for those next couple of days. And for me, this was, just a unique experience. I feel like it's one that I'll always remember. Again, this was my first time with COVID. I was fortunate enough to kind of to avoid it for, 3 years of this pandemic when it started, and, it's coming for everybody eventually. I see that now, but hopefully, if you're lucky enough to have not had it, and again, like my fiance's had it a few times, most people I know have had it at least once. So the experience of that taste and smell loss is kind of, I think, well established now for most people, but it wasn't for me. And what I found, with this whole thing and leaning on cannabis the way that I do, and having the wires crossed where now all of a sudden, this thing that I enjoy, this preference that I have, was completely flipped on its head, and not only was that preference gone, but a distaste was left in its place. And I just, I find that to be a very insidious and weird feature of the disease, but it is something that's out there now, and I just, I hope for everybody's health and happiness and whatnot. If you've been able to avoid it so far, I hope that continues for you. But let me tell you, it really did suck having that. I'm really glad to be free of it now. I'm recording this again January 19th, and this is the first day, about 10 days after my symptoms first showed themselves. This is the first day that I've woken up and really felt like myself and really felt symptom-free. So, and I, mostly I consider myself an otherwise pretty healthy person. So this really did knock me on my ass, and I'm vaccinated, and I do have to get my most up-to-date booster. I think just like the flu shots, it's just something we're going to have to do every year. But that was a lesson that definitely was learned from me this week. And the cost of that lesson was an ashtray full of purple train wreck mini buds here that I'm now unable to smoke. And I'm unfortunately going to have to wait until tomorrow or the next day to go to that dispensary and restock my supply. But that would have been my strain of the week. I will definitely try this again when I'm, not infirm, and I'll try and pass some judgment on it. But if you've tried out purple train wreck, whether it's from this mini buds maker or you've tried the strain in a different capacity, let me know. Just scroll down in the show notes and hit that question or comment link and let me know in the comments what you thought of purple train wreck. Listener, my next guest is a cannabis entrepreneur. He is the CEO and co-owner at MJ SEO Agency. It's a data-driven search engine optimization company focusing on clients in the cannabis niche specifically. He's got a lot of experience with that and is helping people who are creating new businesses grow their audiences, dominating Google searches and other search browsers, and growing cannabis projects faster. Listener, please welcome Viktor Karpenko. Welcome, Viktor.
Hey, hello. How are you?
Very well. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it. Before we get started, whereabouts are you in the world right now?
I'm in Florida currently.
Florida, gotcha. Okay, yeah. And so I'm curious now. SEO agency, I mentioned search engine optimization. For anybody who's not familiar with this concept, can you sort of explain in layman's terms like what it is that you do and what your business is about?
Yeah, sure. So SEO stands for search engine optimization, and it's basically like when you wanna find something in Google, you Google, right? Like you Google like best dispensary near me or like anything you want to Google. So, right. And it's two type of results. First, it's ads from Google, and second, it's organic results. So SEO, it's organic results without ads that are ranking on the first page.
Got it. I see. So without those ads, you're saying this is like the top results when you Google something.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. And so now, obviously, there's a lot of excitement around the cannabis industry right now. There are lots, every day, just new products, new services that people are coming up with. And obviously, those brands are launching, and they, can use help standing out from competitors and such. What was it about cannabis that sort of pulled your focus? What was it that inspired you about that?
So we had a client, and we still have him, that wanted to start like a marketplace, so in this niche. And it was like from the research, like we went deeper, analyzed like marketplaces like Weed Maps, Leafly, and other and just did audit, set up a team, made some result, and from that we just realized that it's pretty cool niche, just because maybe main factor is no ads still, because it's federally still you can't buy ads, right?
Right.
And when you can buy ads, let's say for cannabis keyword terms, when you rank number one, so you get all the traffic.
Wow, that's interesting. So it does present a really unique opportunity, but it's also a really kind of crucial point. It goes back to the fact that we're in this like patchwork legalization thing where some states it's legal, other states it's not, and federally it's still illegal. And because of that, I know federal companies are still really hesitant to take any cannabis affiliated money, and you can't really, buy national advertising, it seems like, on a lot of platforms because of that. And, that makes the internet thing, the internet marketing, puts it in an interesting place, I suppose. So how do you start with somebody? When somebody, reaches out to your, and by the way, how can somebody contact you if they're interested in, growing their stuff?
You just go to mjseo.agency or just type in Google cannabis SEO and you'll find it somewhere in top 3. So, and that's how you can reach with me or with my team and just discuss the task. So where it all started, we need to understand the goal, if you want to get to some amount of traffic, the question is why? Do you want to increase sales, requests? Depends, because it's different verticals in cannabis niche. So depends what your goals are. We take these goals as a main task for us, and we just research, we do audit and research how we can get to this goal with the search engine optimization. Yeah, and then if everything looks okay, we start the process, starting promoting website, and in some time we can get those rankings.
Gotcha. And that's very cool. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are, very interested in the concept. And, anybody, as I said, who's trying to grow a brand these days, you need that search engine optimization. Because, as you said, this is what we do now. When people are interested in something, you go right to Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever your browser of choice is, you're searching for it on the internet. And so the more control or influence, or the better that your results are for somebody with a business when those results are displayed, it's just going to, translate into success, I think.
Right.
What are some of the challenges? Why do you think it's so crucial for people to use a business like yours as opposed to taking it on themselves? I think there's probably some people who are, with social media and some other stuff, they might think that they're doing enough marketing. But, why is it that what you're doing, the service you're providing, why is that so critical for people starting out and building brands?
Just because it's the highest ROI, and it's more long term. Just you can start YouTube channel, but if YouTube don't like something, they can close it, right? So all the effort you put to that platform will be just lost in 1 second. The same with other social media, so basically 2 decent source of traffic is SEO and like email. Like you get the traffic, you subscribe people, and no matter what happened, look, you have this database of clients that you can connect after, or just invite them to different platform like social media and other. And you can buy ads in social media as well because of the federally illegal stuff. So basically that's why. And when you actually rank, like it's different type of keywords you can use. You can use informational or transactional keywords. Like for example, if people look like buy Delta 8 gummies near me, right? So they are interesting to buy this product. When they Google it, they find websites, they go and order. That's why.
Right. Yeah. And I totally get that. I mean, even just, doing the podcast, like I've had my posts banned on some social media platforms, not even selling anything, but just sort of releasing clips of the show. Certain keywords seem to trigger actions on different platforms. So I totally take your point on the fact that you can't really buy ads for social media with it because, again, we're still in this weird, murky place where it's federally illegal. And so there's a lot of companies just not touching it. I'm curious, Viktor, is cannabis something that you've used in the past, or do you, is it more of a professional thing, not so much a personal one?
It's more professional, not personal one. I mean,
totally.
I've tried just to understand like what kind of experience, it brings to like when at one podcast I was talking about that, like how you can market. You can market as like some experience. Like for example, when you get Delta 8 gummies, like for example, you have problems with sleep, you can relax, like and all other stuff.
Right.
This is also can be a solution, like they say medical one or whatever. But I use it more from professional because like I do SEO for 15 years, right? And MJ SEO is a branch of our like main company, and we just specialize in SEO. So we basically reverse engineer what's happening, and it's pretty easy compared with other niches to rank websites and get pretty good results.
Now, what's your opinion about you were just saying that right now anyway, it's sort of I think because of the landscape of the cannabis industry, and there's not, we're still in this new front end of these legalized businesses and such. How long do you expect that to stay the case, in terms of how I don't know, I don't want to say easy, but like how attainable it is to get people in the top search results? Is that something that, you think you'll be able to do even 5-10 years from now as cannabis continues to grow?
I guess so, but like to answer you question on the question how long, like it's always about the data. So like just give me any keyword and I will just like break through.
Interesting. Yeah. That's really interesting. So you're saying it's not so much about the time or the market. You're saying that it really comes down to the keywords that are being used, and if you can use the right ones, then no matter what time it is, you'll be able to get those results, right?
Not exactly. It's a lot of different ranking factors. So like I'm saying, like if you just, let's say you want to get like Delta 8 gummies in the states that are like legal, and like let's say in California, you can probably buy them, right? Mm-hmm. So when you Google Delta 8 gummies, it's like 10 results on the first page, and 10 of them you doing something to rank for this keyword. Let's say the search volume, this is how many times people per month search these keywords. Let's say for Delta 8 gummies, it's about 150,000 people search it every month, like across US. You go and see like what the keyword group, how much traffic potentially you can get if you rank like top 3, top 1, it depends. And then you go and see what the competitors did to rank there. Like for example, how many links pointing to their website, what kind of the content, what kind of the structure, do they optimize it? And it's like a lot of stuff on back end. Like we have like tools, not only like on the market like Ahrefs, SEMrush, Majestic and other. We have like our own internal tools that pretty much answer you how long, what do you need to do, how much you need to spend, and what you will get in a certain amount of time. So like, because in Google, the main thing, it's not like, even if you have a lot of money and budget just to invest right now in like SEO for your website, it doesn't mean you will rank. You need to build trust step by step. And to build this trust, it's a lot of different factors. So we just like kind of take all of them, to take all the data, and then figure out, is it actually worth it to do it? If yes, what we need to do exactly, like step by step, with the links, content, technical optimization, like the UX, like how the website looks, and is it like user friendly with the speed, and like many other things.
No, that's I totally get your point. That's different and a lot more complex than I was envisioning before. It comes down to, as you said, there's back end stuff, and it sounds like you have a lot of specialized tools to determine these things, but it's a lot more than just which keywords are used in posts. That's a part of it, but obviously things like what videos you're using, or what kind of messaging, establishing that trust, links, all of that, and just, it sounds like from my experience of at all trying to build any brands and reaching out on social media, like all of it you're kind of just walking around in the dark, and you try your best to respond to whatever works, but you don't often have an understanding of why whatever worked just worked. And it sounds like the SEO and the services you're offering is it can enlighten people as to what their best efforts, what their best investments how they could get the best return on those investments. Is that fair?
Right. Yeah. That's why before you start, you need to research as much as you can and get all the data, just to see the ways who did what, and just to make your strategy like cost effective and like for sure, so you rank for sure in most of the time. I mean, the chances are more than when you do not research and just don't understand what to do. So in any way, like here, like we know the answer, what we need to do. That's why we start from these audits, and then only we can come up with the strategy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that definitely sounds very, very compelling, I think, to again, people who are trying to build a brand. And, as Viktor mentioned earlier, you can just Google MJ SEO agency, and that, makes sense as to, you'd be able to find Viktor that way, because he's the SEO guy, and obviously that he's going to get his links right at the top of those search results too. Viktor, I'm curious, how does it work when a client does contact you and sort of you tell them about the services and whatnot? How long does the process take, let's say, for you to do the audit, and then what kind of, I guess you don't have to get into specifics if you don't want to, but more like, what sort of pricing, or like how long can the arrangement, how long can they expect that to last, I guess, between you guys?
Yeah. I will answer step by step. So,
sure.
How long does it take? It's usually like a discovery call with our like head of SEO, or like me, or like other team members, just to understand what's the goal and the task is. So it's like half an hour, like 1 hour. Then we propose to do an audit. Audit usually depends on the how big is the business, how big is the website, where you need to go, like how long you need to research. So usually it takes like from 1 to 2 to 3 weeks, depends on the size of the project. And then after this, like maximum 3 weeks, we come up with the strategy, what exactly we need to do. So and the price range also depends, it can be like 2,000, 3,000 audit, or it can be like 10 or 15K, depends on the, if this is the website like with maps and you want to compete with them. I mean, right. take it serious, because they spend like hundreds of $1,000s on SEO per month just to like get all this traffic, or even more, and they have internal teams. So that's why you need to spend more time just to understand in what way you can go on the market, what keyword strategy to use, and like how to make it cost effective. Yeah.
Right. And yeah, that makes sense to me. And I appreciate you kind of spelling it out like that, because it does, you mentioned those companies like Weedmaps and like Leafly and stuff. They obviously, I mean, as any big companies that are so consistently toward the top of search results, in Google and other browsers, they obviously spend a lot to maintain those positions. And that's part of, again, that is a return on the investment, because if you show up consistently toward the top of Google search results, it's going to translate into business over months and months. And that's the return on that investment you're talking about. It's worth it to spend money so that you're not kind of, as we said earlier, walking around in like this dark forest without an idea of where you're heading and just responding to like random interactions, with people and trying your best to figure it out. But, I think that's a big part of why, especially today, I'm sure a lot of businesses flounder simply because they don't have the SEO side of things totally locked down.
Yeah, thanks for explaining in this way. And I would just add, it's all about expectations. Like when you like get some package from someone, like SEO services package, I mean, it also can be effective. I don't know, like maybe, but like when you know the real picture, what's going on with the competitors, you realistically can like just plan, is it possible or not? So you have the right expectations from the beginning, and the like more clear strategy how to get there.
Right.
That's the main point.
Yeah, and totally, I think, again, for people who are serious about building that and wanting to grow a business, I think it's that, as you just put it, managing the expectations and just kind of having like a clearer vision from the beginning of what kind of fight you're in for, or how realistic your goal is, or whatever. I definitely think that's going to be worth it for a lot of people. And so I think the work you're doing is exciting. And again, listener, you can contact Viktor Karpenko at MJ SEO Agency. You can just Google that, or put it into your favorite search engine and find it that way. Viktor, again, thanks for taking some time today. I like to wrap these things up by doing some quick hits questions, just kind of asking about your favorite stuff, foods and movies. Are you game? Good for this?
Yeah, of course.
All right, awesome. All right, first quick hit: morning bird or night owl?
Morning bird. I start my calls like because we have like pretty big team, like up to 200 people. So I start like at 7 in the morning already. My calls, and I finish usually like 3-4 p.m. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, morning bird. I get it. And that's, I feel like, talking to people on the show, it's like when you got business or family. I mean, there's many reasons, I think, especially when you're trying to achieve something, or like just get things going. Getting up early in the morning's a good way to do it. Favorite foods, cuisines, if you're celebrating something, or is there a restaurant or anything like something you had a great year at MJ SEO Agency and you're celebrating, taking the team out? What's a cuisine or a food that really gets you excited?
I would go. Can I choose not only one or just one?
Oh no, choose more. You can go more than one.
Okay, so just to as like number one, it's Italian. Second, it's Indian. Third is Mexican, and probably fourth, it's like sushi, Japanese, and yeah, something like this.
Man, that's really it's really funny. I think that's awesome. I think you're the first person that's had multiple responses, but I find it so interesting that that SEO is and search rankings are like your business, and you have your favorite foods like just ranked perfectly there. I find that very, very amusing, and I totally get you on that too. Indian food, Italian as well, all of that, Mexican sushi. I mean, Southern California is so great because it's just got all that great Mexican and seafood right there, and then here in Chicago, we've got a nice streak of Indian food as well, all kinds really. But I've had some, the privilege of having some great Indian food too, and it's just so flavorful. Really, really delicious stuff.
That's cool.
And then I always ask all my guests, like, drug of choice, meaning, are you a coffee drinker in the morning? Do you like tea? Do you have wine or beer at night? Cannabis? What's your substance for, on a regular basis?
Coffee for sure, every day. I even drink right now. I usually do paper filter, so it's like, when you put, it's a filter coffee. So I grind it and then I just put hot water on top of it, and it's really good.
Oh, nice. Like right in. I like that too. I take my coffee black and I try and keep it, pretty basic. When I was younger, I used to really load it up with cream and sugar and whatnot, and I got away from that just to ditch the extra calories, but also because I wanted to kind of get more familiar with the coffee taste itself, and just kind of taste the beans, and so I like it like that as well. I think that's cool.
Yeah, and I try to take low acid, so it's the coffee that goes up to more than 2,000-3,000 feet up. It's like Costa Rica, and other. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Nice. And you say that's low acid, like for
yeah. So basically when you drink alcohol, your liver still need to digest it. The same with the coffee, and if it's low acid, it's better a bit for health. Yeah.
Wow. Hey, that's great to know. Thanks for the tip. I'm gonna keep that in mind going forward.
Sure.
And then favorite movie or TV show? What's something you like to watch on? If it's a classic movie or something, anytime you see it on TV, you'll let it finish. What do you like?
Usually HBO or Netflix. And last watch movie, I guess I watched Shaq on. It's a series about basketball player Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh, and, Shaq, yeah.
Yeah, it's currently it's they have 4 series. Before it was every Wednesday, at night.
Okay.
Yeah, and the last one I watched also, I guess, on HBO or I don't exactly remember, but where it's about Richard Branson,
Virgin. The Virgin mogul guy. Yeah, for sure. So so you're into documentaries and stuff like that. Yeah, that Shaq one I've seen a lot about. I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah. So and sometimes shows like Trevor Noah or other just when you eat or whatever, just listen something. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I get that for sure. And then finally, I guess I'll go with sports. Are you big into any kind of sports watching? Any team in particular? What kind of sports you like to throw on?
Basketball. I used to play in high school, and a little bit more professional, but back in Ukraine.
Oh,
and,
nice.
And I just watched a game. It was yesterday. Yeah, the day before yesterday. I went to Orlando watch playing Lakers and Magic.
Nice.
It was Lakers with LeBron. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit a fan of LeBron no matter where he plays.
Oh, right on. A LeBron fan for sure. Okay, cool. So you got to see him play the Magic. He was in town with the Lakers playing the Magic recently, and you got to go to the game. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's and LeBron is that. I mean, whatever anybody's opinion about him is, I'm lucky enough where I was younger than 10 when Michael Jordan was kind of playing with the Bulls, but I'll always remember watching those games at my grandma's house, my mom's family. We'd wheel the TV outside watching those playoff games, and we never did that. And I just I have memories of those Jordan games, and people always love to do the comparisons of who's greater from the sports ages, which is a foolish comparison, but no matter what, LeBron is on that level of Tom Brady, of Jordan. The guys that can achieve championships over the course of seasons, history remembers those guys, and you got to respect them.
Right, but I think LeBron will try to score the most points. I think this year he can hit more points than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So
that's huge.
So he can be number 1 overall scored player in history. So
Kareem, that's a big record.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah, well, right on. Hey, I think he definitely has a chance to get it, and that's probably, I'm sure a big part of, what keeps him going and stuff. And I would not bet against the guy. I'm sure he will take that over at some point in the near future.
Right. But I also like MJ, and Michael Jordan is really good. So like, I'm not between like, like who is better or like they both like really good.
Yeah, exactly. Of course. And I mean, ultimately, like, people love to argue about that stuff, but it's like they play sports and sports are supposed to be entertaining. And so those guys, both of them, entertained us a lot for many years. Like, that's that. If you break it down, they both contributed something, and they should be respected for that, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
And I respect you, Viktor Karpenko, for what you're doing at MJ SEO Agency. I think you're helping people and people who are involved in the cannabis industry. I think it's a very exciting time, and there's some great people who are, just now coming up with great services and great products, and they're trying to get the word out there, and the work that Viktor's doing there is helping them do that. So, listener, definitely Google or whatever your search browser is, Google that MJ SEO Agency if you're interested. And Viktor, I hope we can talk again in the future. Thanks for jumping on today.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for this cool conversation. Yeah, and I wish your podcast grow and grow. So like you have like in SEO the main point is just to grow traffic, grow position, and always expand. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day and a happy New Year.
You too. Happy New Year. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
And there you have it, listener. If you'd like to find out more about what Viktor and his team do, or if you're interested in their services, you can go to mjseo.agency, or just use your favorite search browser and type in MJ SEO Agency, and it should get you right to the site.
Welcome to The Rating Room. The Rating Room is a new weekly podcast hosted by Jay and Andy.
In Season 1, we'll be rewatching and discussing one of the biggest movie franchises of all time.
We are rewatching the James Bond movies.
Who is the deadliest Bond actor? Who are our favourite Bond girls? How did the movies perform at the box office?
You can follow us on the usual social media channels by searching The Rating Room on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok and YouTube.
You can also find more information on our website, www.theratingroom.com.
You can find the show notes on our website, plus we have pages dedicated to each of the ratings and rankings, which are updated on a weekly basis.
And make sure to subscribe to The Rating Room wherever you find your favourite podcast. Don't miss our first episode when it's released next week.
The Rating Room. And one last note before I let you go this week, listener. An article crossed my feed earlier today, actually, and I wanted to bring it to your attention. Headline, which is admittedly hyperbolic here. This is from Syracuse.com. NYC's illegal weed dispensaries are about to experience a bloodbath. That is the headline. This was published today, January 19, and it was written by one Sean Teehan, Teehan. And Sean is the scene spelling, S-E-A-N. Police in New York City will launch a major crackdown on unlicensed weed shops, and the state legislature will propose legislation further empowering law enforcement to crack down on the illicit shop. That was said by officials during an NYC council hearing yesterday. That'd be Wednesday, the 18th. Council's Committee on Consumer and Worker Protection held a hearing during which its members spoke with the city's sheriff's office, NYPD, Department of Health, and other local agencies about a proliferation of unlicensed smoke shops selling weed in New York City. Quote, "The task force is continuing. Our operations are increasing. We are doubling, if not tripling, the enforcement that we have," end quote. That's from NYC Sheriff Anthony Miranda. The end of that quote is, we want them to know the type of enforcement that's going on so that they understand that we're not going away, end quote. I guess I wanted to bring this up to you, listener, because I've brought up on the show before this issue of black or gray markets in legal cannabis, states and territories around the world. When a place legalizes cannabis, one of the biggest threats to the success of that legal market or biggest obstacles to it is the proliferation of a black or a gray market where people can get their supply through other than legal means and other than at licensed dispensaries or wherever. And it does suck, I'll admit it. If people have a good arrangement with their dealer, if they're giving them prices that are better than legal stuff, if the quality's great and the person's delivering to you, that's hard to beat. It really is. But there has to be a commitment to seeing these legal markets through. As I've said, we just kind of have to wait out this initial period where the competition between businesses hasn't really been established yet because there's not enough of them out there. And again, I'm speaking really from Illinois' standpoint here. You might have a very different experience of legal cannabis where you are. And, if you're in a place like Michigan or Oklahoma, for instance, a recent ad, but they've been doing very well down there apparently. And if you're in one of those places, you might see that the legal prices have gone down or whatnot, and that might be fine for you. But in Canada, one of the biggest problems facing Canada since they legalized in their first province, I think Ontario was the first to do it. Ever since they've not taken off the way they expected. And a lot of that is because of the continued existence of the black market. So what ends up happening here? Well, they being the governments, those who are in charge of these provinces and in charge of ensuring the success of the legal markets, they then turn to law enforcement and they, are going to incentivize that they crack down more harshly on these black and gray markets. And I guarantee you, if it's not already at your state or it's not happened in your territory, it's coming. It is absolutely coming. This bloodbath that the writer so hyperbolically put in the headline there, that bloodbath is coming, though, for every state and every legal place, at least in the United States. I can speak for that. You know that if any legal cannabis markets are struggling and they believe it is from the existence of the black market, they're coming for it. And what's going to happen in New York City, as they say, what's going to start happening over these next weeks and months, that I'm sure is going to happen elsewhere, too. And so I guess my advice to people is just, if you're not already legal, and I feel like most of the listeners of this show are. I know that I always tout, how much I love the dispensaries. I, say that we need to buy in to legal cannabis. And even if you're not thrilled with how it's been rolled out in your state, I've talked with plenty of people who don't love the way that cannabis has been rolled out, certainly here in Illinois. The prices of product, the lack of social equity, applicants truly, who are setting up shop and getting their dispensaries up and going. These things, they're not great, but you have to give this thing time to sort itself out. You have to let more people get into the game. And when time has passed and more people get into this game, we're going to see more competition between businesses. We're going to see things that shake those prices down and make the experience and all the products for us consumers just the better for it. So this is going to happen, and I just think it's better for everybody to just sort of grit your teeth, get a medical card, grow your own if you're, in need of that kind of supply and stuff, and that's why you hate the price point. But if you can, just grit it out and stomach the legal cannabis, because we all of us, I think, want this to succeed. We do not want to go back to the days of reefer madness, of just blanket illegal weed, and you had to rely on whatever dealer or whatever third-party person that, was your hookup at the time. I definitely don't want to go back to that. Speaking just for myself, I do not want to go back to that. And I think that the best way that we can ensure the success of legal cannabis is to buy into it. Don't support the companies that are doing shady stuff. Support the ones that are doing great and that you want to continue, and vote with your dollars. And those will be alive and strong and well, and you'll be able to pick up your products and anything you want from them in the meantime going forward. And that is the society that I want to live in. I don't want to go back to one where we all have to pretend like like cannabis is some evil thing and that, nobody on the up and up would ever be doing that. Anyway, that was my thought on that. If you have any thoughts on it, go ahead and scroll down, hit the question or comments link, and let me know. Or if you've got any question that you'd like to ask having to do with cannabis or about my opinions on the matter, always happy to talk with you about it. And I look forward to bringing you another great episode, hopefully, next week with another interview and some news stories, events, and just chronicling this great change as cannabis moves like a wave, a green wave across the United States and the world on the Cannabis Man podcast. Bye-bye. Cannabis Man is an original production of myself, Don Kleppen. Original theme music by Yusu Kim, aka Goodson. Other music by Pat Perez, and logo designed by Vorbroker Media. If you like the show, please rate, review, subscribe, and share whenever you can.